Hey everyone, I don't know um, if anyone's out there yet, but I'm just going to be doing a little bit of masking today. Yep, I'm getting my computer up. I think I showed you guys, yeah, I did a little tour of my craft room. I recently rearranged things. So now I have my computer right beside me instead of my iPad. And today is the first time that I am watching comments on my computer. So I'm just kind of doing a trial and error kind of run here. And this way I can also drop links if you guys are interested in anything that I'm using. Just ask and I can go ahead and drop a link to show you guys what I'm doing. So I wanted to play around with some of these new Unity stamps. Well, they're not new. They're new to me, but they're not new to Unity. I ordered them from their Black Friday sale, and I just loved these floral images. I love flowers, florals, any kind of stamps, and I thought it would be really fun to build sort of a little scene with them. And I have already stamped some of them out on masking paper. This is the Brutus Monroe masking paper. I have a link in the description, as well as I dropped in a comment with a link if you're interested in that. But I was up early this morning. I was playing around with some of these stamps and some gold embossing powder, and I colored it in with some pearl aqua pigment and some liquid elements. And so that is what this is right here. I just did a little scrap piece of paper, and I love how this turned out. I might actually save this one for a bookmark or something, but I just love that shine. So I thought, why not try to build a card using sort of this same technique, and try to do a little bit of masking. So I have some Raven cardstock here as well. And I'm just going to cut out these images from my masking paper. So I don't know if you guys have done masking at all. It's really kind of fun. I use this Brutus Monroe masking paper. I think it works fantastic. But if you don't have masking paper, you could also use Post-it notes. Those kind of work sometimes. Anything that has like a really low tack, not super sticky. So I'm just gonna try to cut around this image as well as I can. I wasn't quite sure how well this image would work just because it is a little bit more detailed. So masking could be a little tricky, but we'll try it. We'll see what happens. If anything, I have some ideas of what we can do. I'm just carefully cutting around. I don't know if any of you have done any Black Friday shopping. I got some deals on different stamp sets, so I'm trying to use them as they come in. And I'm realizing I don't like getting a lot of new stuff at once, because then I feel a little bit overwhelmed, like I can't use them all fast enough, and I don't know where to start. So just doing a little bit of fussy cutting on this image. Both of these flowers are just so gorgeous. I love them. And I stamped these using my Brutus Monroe detail ink, which is just a black ink, but I like it because you don't have to worry about which mediums you can use with this ink. It's permanent once it's dry, so you can use it with anything. You can color over it with aqua pigments. You can do watercolors. You can do alcohol markers, pencils, colored pencils, and it won't smear. All right. Now I did leave a tiny white border, and I'm okay with that because sometimes I find if I do some masking where I'm cutting right up to the line, it starts to look a little bit, what's the word? Like the lines kind of run together. So I feel like giving a break between some of the lines actually work a little bit better. So for me anyway, and it depends on the image as well. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. I want to do some embossing on this black cardstock. using that flower that I just cut out. So from Unity, these stamps are cling stamps. So they are rubber stamps. They're not mounted on a wood block. They just have that cling back. So you do have to mount them on an acrylic block, or you can put them in your MISTI. Doesn't matter, but if you want to stamp them several times, I definitely say go ahead and put it in your MISTI. I'm just going to use my acrylic block right now because I'm going to do some embossing, and I think I can get a good enough impression with the embossing ink with one stamp. So I don't think I need my MISTI right now. So I am just going to put this right in the middle. Now I'm used to working with more clear stamps, so I'm used to being able to like look through the stamp and just line it up and make sure it's where I want it to go. So the cling stamps are a little different for me personally, but I really do notice that they give a great impression just the first time. Whereas sometimes I'd have to stamp a few times with a clear stamp, which isn't a problem, especially if you have a MISTI. I love my clear stamps, but I'm loving these cling stamps as well. Now I'm just going to go tap off all the extra embossing powder and use my paintbrush, dry paintbrush, just to brush away some of those embossing powder bits that are kind of trying to hang on. I'm going to use a smaller brush and just kind of clean up this area in here. Now the embossing powder I'm using is the Gilded Sparkle, and this is new from Brutus Monroe. It's similar to their Gilded, only it is glitter in it, so it's extra special sparkle, which I love. Okay, so I've cleaned that up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and emboss that. And then we'll try to do a little bit of masking and see what happens. So just putting my extra back into the jar. And wiping away the excess. And we'll go ahead and emboss. There we go. So there's that embossed image. Hey, Evelyn. Thanks for joining. So there's that embossed image, and I'm loving this Gilded Sparkle because, I mean, Gilded is great on its own, but I love that little touch of sparkle when you turn your card and you can kind of see that glitter in there. I'm just loving it. So I know the black cardstock is kind of a different background, but I've been doing a lot of Christmas cards lately, and I just did a few with sort of a black background, and I love it. And I'm ready to do something a little bit different, kind of move away from the Christmas cards a little bit and start going to just different cards to use for every day. So I have this masking paper here. Now I peeled off the backer, and I have never really had a problem with the Brutus Monroe masking paper tearing my cardstock when I peel it up, but just to be sure, sometimes I like to run it on my sleeve a few times and kind of make it a little less sticky, so that way I know I should be safe when I'm peeling it up. You still want to be careful peeling it up, but I just like to be sure. And it is really sticky, this masking paper. So I just like to kind of get some of that sticky off. Hey, Dee. I have a different setup. I don't know if you guys heard in the beginning. I have a different setup. I'm not using my iPad right next to me. So I have my computer sort of off to the side. So I have to kind of look over there to see if anyone's commenting. So I'm going to try not to miss any of your comments or any of your questions. But I mentioned earlier that I'm using the masking paper today from Brutus Monroe, doing a little bit of masking and just seeing what happens. So let's see. Like I said, the one thing I'm not completely sure about with the cling stamps is you can't always quite see where you're stamping it, and I don't quite know how it's going to turn out. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm trying to make sort of a cluster of, maybe we should do this one, sort of a cluster of flowers across the front here, if that makes sense. I think I want to use this one kind of up here in the corner. I think that would look nice. So let's pull this one off. And these are stamps from Unity that I got on their Black Friday sale. So just adding my embossing ink, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp this out. So those of you watching, did any of you go to the anniversary party at Brutus Monroe this weekend? I was watching all of Jess's live streams and just wishing I could have gone, but being so far away in California, it didn't really work out. But it looked absolutely amazing. So I'm going to peel this masking paper off now. I'm going to add some more of my embossing powder and go ahead and emboss that little image that I added on the side. It's definitely on my wish list to go to the anniversary party some year. So we'll see. We'll see about next year. It's just the airfare can get so ridiculous, and especially around the holidays. So just didn't work out this year. Okay, I'm going to tap off some of that extra powder, and I noticed a little bit is sticking in here. I'm just going to brush that off. Now that's easy to brush away because that image is already embossed. So I'm just going to gently wipe that away. And just tap off the extra. I'm thinking that image looks pretty good. Did you have a good time, Dee? It looked amazing. Everything just looks so awesome. And then Jess taught a tag class, didn't she? Did you get to take that class as well? I think that would have been so fun just to hang out and craft with everybody. I'm going to go ahead and emboss that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jess was out driving in the snowstorm last night yet. She took a while to get home, it sounds like. So it's a good thing she got home safely, but I heard that there was a snowstorm coming in. Oh, good. You didn't get caught in any snow. Good, 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 good. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm familiar with snow, but I really don't like it, and I don't miss it. Being here in California, it's not I do not miss it at all. So kind of thinking, I wonder if I want to stamp another one on this side. I might go ahead and do that and just see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and add my masking paper back on. One thing I love about masking, and if you go ahead and you create a mask, you can just keep that mask and reuse it over and over. So sometimes I even just stick it in with my stamp sets, and I'll have that mask if I want to go ahead and do another technique another time. It's really just handy just to keep the same mask and reuse it until you can't use it anymore. So I'm just adding a little bit more of my embossing bag to kind of cut down on static cling, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp this image out again. Oh, Patricia, if you haven't done embossing yet, I would definitely say try it out because it is so much fun. I think it's one of the things that first hooked me on card making and crafting because it's just so much fun to watch that embossing powder melt. So I'm just kind of eyeballing my edges here, and I'm going to see if I can just stamp this out and we'll see what it looks like. Really all you need to do to get started with the embossing is just get a good embossing ink. Of course, I would suggest Brutus Monroe, and find a embossing powder, maybe a white or a black or a clear to get started, and then you can just use it with any of your stamps. And of course, a heat tool. You need one of those. All right, I'm liking how that looks. Let's go ahead and add some more embossing powder on there. Yes, I agree. I like to look at the snow. I don't like to drive in it. If it would just stay off the roads, then it would be fine. All right, now this is the Gilded Sparkle. I'm loving this new Gilded Sparkle. It's just like the Gilded, only it's got that extra glitter in it. Anything that's got extra glitter is fabulous. I love it. Okay. Just going to clean up this image a little bit. And I think what's happening here on my flower that's already been embossed is maybe some of that embossing powder or some of that masking paper kind of could leave a little bit of tackiness behind. Maybe that's why it's sticking to my image. But I am just going to wipe that away. Just be careful not to brush away any of my embossing powder. And then I'm going to go and emboss that, I think. It is. This is definitely the best embossing powder. I am blown away with how well this embossing powder works. I don't even, really don't even care to try any other brands because this works exactly the way I want it to. And yeah, and they have their embossing club. If you want a unique embossing powder every month delivered to your door, they have their embossing powder subscription, which is absolutely fabulous. All right, I'm going to go ahead and emboss that. And I think I'm going to stop there with the masking. I'm liking how it's looking. I know it's off center, but I'm going to cut it down a little bit more to make that image centered. But before well, maybe I should do that right now and just cut it down. We'll see. I'll grab my trimmer. I have an idea. Okay, so let's go ahead and just trim this down to make sure that it is even. Leave a little bit of room. And then trim a little off of this side and just make it look like it's centered. Look at that. I think that looks okay for now. I can always change it up later if I need to. So let's see. Yeah, and you can get, yeah, like Dee said, if you are subscribed to any of the subscriptions, you get 15% off any of your other orders in the store, which is a fantastic deal. Patricia, how long to keep the heat on? I don't know if you can see on camera, but if you just watch the powder when you see it melt, after it's starting to melt, just move on to the rest of your image until it's all melted. Like you can see it when you're watching it in person. I don't know if you can see it very much on camera, but you can see it in person, and then as you're watching it melt. You definitely don't want to hold the heat gun in one place too long because it can burn your paper. But just hold it there until you see that powder melt and then kind of move on. If that helps, if that makes sense. Once you do it a few times, you get the hang of it. So I'm using my Liquid Elements. This is Gilded. I'm just shaking it up. You can hear there's a little ball in there that kind of gets all that mica going. And I'm just going to take my cap off and use a paintbrush and just paint on some of this color. Now, I'm just using regular cardstock. It's not watercolor cardstock or anything because I'm not using a whole lot of this. I just want to color some onto my flower. This is just going to be a very shiny card because we all love some sparkle and shine, right? And if you guys want links to any of these things, just ask and I can swing around and grab a link for you. Otherwise, maybe I'll try to update my description when I'm done and drop a few links down below. I already have a link to the masking paper if you're interested in that. Also trying to keep an eye on the comments in case anybody is asking any questions or anything. All right, so I'm going to be painting the flowers with this gold, and then the leaves are going to stand out a little bit more because I'm going to paint them in with my pearl. And those are the two metallics that I have, and Liquid Elements is not technically a watercolor, but I'm using it as one today. But there are other metallic watercolors from Brutus Monroe, and I think those would look absolutely fantastic on some dark or black cardstock as well. So are you guys all ready for Christmas? I'm slowly getting there. I have some presents to wrap, and I think we'll be doing some Christmas cookies soon and just a few fun things. I'm trying not to go too crazy and do too much because I kind of want to enjoy it with my kids and not make it too stressful. But I do have some stuff coming up that I'm going to be working on. I think sometimes it's a little easy to get lost in all the busyness of the season and then forget to sit back and just enjoy it. Our house is decorated though. We've got our Christmas trees up. Yes, you don't buy, not for Christmas. You know, it's actually something I've thought about is cutting back on presents or no presents. I know it sounds crazy, but I just feel like we can kind of get caught up in the commercialism of it and then forget, you know, why we celebrate in the first place. So maybe it'd be a little extreme. Sorry, kids, no presents, but sometimes I think we just need to remember why we celebrate. So I'm going to go ahead and shake up my Aqua Pigments here. Going to get that shimmer going in my Aqua Pigments. Now these don't have a little ball in them. These are glass jars, so I don't know if I would recommend putting a ball in them. But I think, you know, if you're having a problem getting it mixed up, just grab a paintbrush and swirl it around or something in there. Yeah, definitely. I agree, Dee. I mean, I think it's fun to get the kids things, but as an adult now, even if I think about like, you know, telling my husband what I want for Christmas, I'm like, I don't know what I want. I don't really need anything. So, I mean, you know, I don't need anything. It's kind of fun just to watch our kids now experience Christmas and enjoy it. So I'm just going to paint down some of this pearl onto the leaves and onto some of the branches to kind of help them stand out a little bit. And so you're kind of making this image pop without really adding too much color to it. Just the difference in the gold and the pearl kind of helps it to take shape. Absolutely, I agree. Time with family is the most important thing. Thank you, Patricia. I thought about doing something a little bit different. I love my white cardstock and I love my white space on my cards, but I thought let's go ahead and do something with black cardstock because it really does make those, it makes all of the, what am I trying to say? The metallics, the gold sparklies, it makes them all just pop. And it's a little bit hard to do masking, I think, with some of the rubber stamps, just because you don't always know if you have things lined up the way they're supposed to be, but I think it did, it went pretty well. If you do start with a cardstock that's a little bit bigger than what you need, you can always trim it down to size and then get that image centered if it's not. And then just keep adding your aqua pigment. So there's going to be a little bit of warping, but since I'm not adding a crazy amount of water, it's not too bad. And I think I can adhere it down well enough with my adhesive to make it stick. Yeah, if you try this Dee with aqua pigments, definitely post in the Brutus Monroe fan page or something because we love to see. There's so much activity going on there in the Brutus Monroe fan page right now with all the anniversary party excitement. It looked like so much fun. If you guys want to go check out, if you're not already in the fan page, it's the Brutus Monroe fan, is it fan club? Fan page on Facebook. And then you can see what everybody's creating. You can see what everyone's talking about. Just kind of a fun party over there. Getting some aqua pigment on each of these little branches. And after this starts drying, it's going to really shine a lot more. I think the shine comes out as it dries. Almost done with the branches. And then I have an idea of what I want to do next. All right, so I've got that all colored and I'm just going to wipe off my brush and put it aside. And then I'm actually going to grab one of my Brutus Monroe water brushes. Let's see. I think this is the smallest one. Yeah, that one's the small. They have a small, a medium, and a large. So I'm going to grab the medium size. I don't think I, yep, there's color in there. I didn't, what's the word? Wash it off properly after I was done with it last time. So I'm just going to kind of squirt some of this water out here and wipe it up. It's kind of coming clean. I just don't want to get different color in on my paper. I want to leave it the black and the gold. And then I'm just going to wipe off that brush and let's see. Oh, you don't have a Facebook, Patricia? That's okay. You can also, I mean, I don't know if you guys are on Instagram or anything, but Brutus Monroe, he's always posting on Facebook. There is Instagram that the team likes to post, you know, their pictures on to show you what we're doing on the blog. So there's that. And of course, YouTube. If you follow Christopher Allen on YouTube, he's always doing live and showing you what's new over at Brutus Monroe. So now I'm just picking up some of this Pearl Aqua Pigments and splattering it on around the outside. I'm just using my water brush, so I'm not really using any of the water inside. I'm just getting some of that aqua pigment on my brush so I can splatter it. And I discovered I really like how these water brushes splatter. I don't know why. Maybe it has something to do with they already have some liquid in them already, but I find it's really easy just to pick up some of this aqua pigment or anything and just tap some splatters on. And I think this just kind of adds a little bit of texture and interest around the flower. And I think that looks pretty good. So I did go ahead and squirt some of this pearl out right on my craft mat, and I want to save all of it that I can. So I'm just going to go and suck it up with my little eyedropper and put it back into my bottle. Super easy to do if you have a water resistant craft mat. And then I'm just going to wipe away my surface, make sure it's clean. So here is my stamped and embossed and colored panel, and I think I want to mount this on card base. Now here's a little bit more raven, and I'm just going to kind of layer on here. So I'm going to go ahead and not cut this down, but score it. Score and fold. I'm surprised that YouTube hasn't kicked me off yet. A lot of times when I get on here to do a live, YouTube kicks me off at least several times, and I have to come back on and try to pick up where I left off. So I'm trying to keep an eye and make sure I'm not kicked off and that I can still see everybody. All right, so let's see how that kind of measures up in here. So the top and the bottom is a little bit shorter than on the sides, so you have the extra space, and it doesn't bother me too much, but I kind of think that I could kind of offset that a little bit by adding maybe some gold washi tape on the bottom or something. Let's see what that looks like. I might end up just forgetting that part, skipping that. All right, so here's some gold washi tape. Maybe I can just do a little on the top and the bottom. What would that look like? Would that be too much? Am I going overboard with the sparkle? Let's see. I'm going to grab another piece of paper. Hey, Peggy. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks, Evelyn. I'm glad you like it. Let's see what I can do here. This is something I just did this morning, but I don't think I'm going to use it on a card. Maybe I should cut it down, or I can use a different scrap paper. Yes, let me grab some scrap in here. Okay, so this is just a piece of scrap paper. I have an idea. Just bear with me. I'm going to cut this down to slightly smaller than an A2 size card base. So I'm going to do 4 inches by 5 and a quarter. So that takes a quarter off of each side, because an A2 size card is normally 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I like the gold sparkle too, Peggy. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and, yes, I'm going to put some. So, okay, here's my crazy idea. I'm going to adhere this on top of this panel, and first I'm going to put some of my sparkly washi tape on this piece, and that way I know it's going to kind of fit perfectly where I want it to fit, if that makes sense, and that I can get it centered onto my card. And now maybe I didn't cut a big enough piece. Let's see what that looks like. I think that's going to be covered up, so I think that's going to be fine. So let's go ahead and tear another piece for this side and line that up. And just fold it over on the back. And then I can go ahead and layer this on. And then it's going to layer on here perfectly, is the idea. And I think I kind of like that. It's very, very sparkly, but that's okay, right? So I want to just kind of make sure that these sides are folded over, or maybe I should just trim them off because I don't think they're going to stick. I should have just ripped a bigger piece of tape. So I'm just going to trim that. I think that side will be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down with my ATG. Thanks, Peggy. I'm liking the black cardstock. I don't usually grab black for my card bases, but I think it really just makes all of that gold just really shine. And I have no idea what I'm going to do for a sentiment. Maybe I should just die cut some of those big Brutus Monroe word dies. Okay, I got to stand up to make sure that this is centered. Okay, I think that looks okay. And who knew that this would be almost the perfect size. All right, and then you can go ahead and just layer it on your card base. And I think that looks really nice. I was thinking about it going, you know, lengthwise as a card, but I think it looks good this way too. So I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that down to my card base. Could also do pop it up on foam adhesive if you want some dimension. I'm kind of thinking about that now. Do we want to pop it off the card base? Maybe not. I think I'm just going to adhere it straight down. Just put a ton of adhesive on here. And taping it to this other piece of cardstock kind of helps with any of the warping issues that you might get when you add some liquid medium on top of a cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that this stays down. And try to make that centered. And then just adhere it down. So that is one shiny card, but I like it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And then I don't know what I want to do for a sentiment. What do you guys think? Should I just do like a word die or something? Should I stamp something out and put, yes, I think that's what I want to do. I want to put little strips of words maybe in the middle on black cardstock in gold. So now I just have to find a sentiment to go on here. So I think, let's see. What do they have here? This is the stamp set that I'm using. It's from Unity, and they have, just want to see what it looks like. You deserve something beautiful. You spread kindness wherever you go. I just want to see how big that is. I could just put something like that right in the middle. Kind of like the, you spread love and kindness wherever you go, and then there's happiness. That one might look nice. Maybe right there on a little strip of black cardstock. Hey, Joanne. You're from Michigan. You guys got snow up there, right? We were talking about snow a minute ago. Okay, so I'm going to put that back on the backing piece and throw that in here. Throw this one in here. I just like to keep all my stamps together. Otherwise, as I'm working, it just kind of totally falls apart and I lose everything. So let's see. Here's my little inspiration piece that I started with. I created this morning before my kids got up. I had a few minutes to play and I thought this looked beautiful and I wanted to make a card out of it. But I think this one is really fun too. If you just added a little tag on the top and then made it into a bookmark, that would be nice. Peggy, I would say down in your lower, oh, like down here. Oh, I like that idea. Good idea. Maybe I'll just put it down there on a little piece of black cardstock. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to emboss this in the Gilded Sparkle as well. Oops. And then actually, I wonder if I can use my smaller stamp block. So I have two stamp blocks. I have this big stamp block and this incredibly small stamp block, which sometimes if I put something on at an angle like this, it works. I do like the smaller stamp block because I feel like I can have a little bit more control on it when I'm stamping, but not everything fits to it. So, all right, let me see. I want to make sure I get this lined up. So that's totally crooked, but maybe I can kind of trim it down and make it straight. So let me grab my embossing powder, Gilded Sparkle. Yeah, I think I agree now that you guys say down here. I think that's a good place for it because, like you said, Trisha, don't cover up that gorgeous flower, right? All right, so let's emboss that sentiment and then try to trim it down so it's straight. All right, so that looks good. So I'm just going to kind of trim that down. Grab my little trimmer here. Try to make it straight. It's always a little bit hard to make sure you're trimming it the right way, but that looks good, I think. We'll see. Okay. It's hard to trim it on when you already have such a small piece of cardstock that you're working with. Okay. No. Man. Maybe I can, I don't want to cut it just by hand because that's not going to be straight at all. You know what? I have an idea. I have a different paper trimmer. Let's do this. See if this one will work. I don't grab this one out as much because it's a little bit bigger. And I like to work quickly. I just use my smaller paper trimmer, but let's see if I can get a better. There we go. That looks better, right? I think it's still a little bit crooked, but oh well. Okay, so there's our little sentiment. I was kind of wondering that, Peggy. I was wondering if, you know, if anyone's really going to notice if it's crooked at all. And then I was thinking we can just kind of pop it on down here. Maybe with a little bit of foam adhesive. I think I want to kind of trim this side a little bit. I think I'll just do that real quick. Maybe not. Maybe it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on the back, some foam adhesive. Just cut down a little piece. To go on the back. And then just pop it on our card. I think that should be good. Unless you guys think I need to add some sequins as well. Because I'm in a sequin kind of kick lately where everything needs sequins. I think I'm going to stick it right here. And I love it. I love the black and the shiny metallics. Oh, it's gone but cold. So your snow is all gone, huh? Good. I'm not a huge fan of snow. So let me just see what some of these little sequins might look like. Just add a few on here. Because, I mean, it's not shiny enough already, right? With all of this crazy metallics on here. I just kind of have, I think, an addiction to sequins. I just need to put some on every card lately, I feel like. Let me get a few of these little ones. But I think it looks all right. Here's some tiny clear sequins. There we go. Maybe one down there, and I think that will be fine. So let's go ahead and adhere those down, and I think that will finish the card. So I think I'm going to use this card for our blog hop on Wednesday, which is all about masking. Because we want to show off how you can do some masking with the Brutus Monroe Masking Paper. So I need to get this card photographed before my kids wake up and before the sun goes down. So I'm going to go and do that here in a minute. If I can get some of my glue out. And then I'm going to write up a blog post for Wednesday. So stop back at the blog on Wednesday if you want to see this photographed and a write-up of details. Or you can stop over at the Brutus Monroe blog and start the blog hop there, because the whole team is going to be hopping along with their cards. Go visit their blogs and leave them some love and just see what they are masking on Wednesday. Every week we try to do a blog post with some sort of a theme. So our theme this week is masking. And I thought I better create something for a blog post since I hadn't made anything yet. So this is probably going to be my card. So I can't wait to photograph that because it's so shiny. Oh, do you think it takes away from the flower? The sequins do? Hopefully not too much. I don't know. I just love sequins on everything lately. I don't know why. But anyway. Yeah, you can catch the replay, Peggy. And I'm going to try to, I have a link to the masking paper. I might try to add a few more links to anything else that you guys might be interested in looking at in the store. Otherwise, this is my card today. So I'm kind of loving how it turned out. I really love that gold on black and all those metallics. And like I said, Brutus Monroe has a ton of different metallics. They have some colored metallics and other colors too. I just have the pearl and the liquid elements, so that's what I used. Otherwise, I think that's the card for today. So thank you guys for stopping by and joining me and just chatting while we craft. And I think I'm gonna go and try to get some photos of this card before my kids wake up. So have a great day. I hope you all have a really Merry Christmas season, and I will see you guys later. So bye.